Hi, welcome back to another What About It podcast episode. This is a two-part series, The Autonomy of Failure and Regret. Part 1 of 2, Why Business Failure Won't Break You. And if you've been following our journey, we just wrapped up the Listening to the Whispers trilogy. We spent a tremendous amount of time talking about those quiet, persistent voices in our heads. Yep, the ones that tell us something is off. When a major shift is coming, or when we need to pay attention a little bit more to the subtle changes happening right under the surface of our lives. Today, we are opening up a new conversation born directly out of those whispers. But this one is a little bit too big and too raw and too heavy to breeze through in one sitting. So we are breaking it into two-part deep dive, and that's failure versus regret. Now, people throw those words around like they mean pretty much the same thing, but they are completely different animals. Failure is a technical impact. Regret is an emotional impact. Failure is something that you can analyze, repair, and learn from. Regret, on the other hand, is that silent weight that can hollow you out if you've never faced the darn thing. This first episode deals strictly with the mechanics of failure, the logistical operational bullshit that typically knocks us to our ass. In part 2, we'll leave the boardroom behind and tackle the real monster, personal regret. The spark for this series came while I was watching an interview with George Clooney. He was looking back at his life, career, risks, and choices. He said something that really stopped me dead in my tracks. You can live with failure, but you cannot live with regret. Wow, that hit me pretty deep, and it forced me to take a look at the ledger of my own life and separate the things that broke down operationally from the things that still carried emotional weight, and that's regret. And the more I sat with it, the clearer it became. Failure and regret require two completely different methods of execution. Then another piece of the puzzle clicked into place, and I was watching another podcast, Nick Saban, on The Pivot, one of my favorite podcasts. And one of the co-hosts asked him when he knew he had become the GOAT. And Saban's answer flipped the whole script. He never felt like the GOAT, not once, because he himself understood most leaders miss. The second you buy into your own crown, you're pretty much done. Every year has a new year. New players, new talent, new personality, new variables. You cannot force this year's team into last year's formula just because you won last year's trophy. Past success buys you 0 points on the next kickoff. That applies directly to business. As entrepreneurs, hosts, leaders, and creators, and yes, even parents, we can get trapped inside our own routines. We rely on old mannerisms, old behaviors, and time-tested plays. But we forget that every new deal is what it is. It's a damn new deal. Different products, different buyers, different sellers, different emotions, different timing, culture. You absolutely cannot depend on the safe way just because it happened to work for you yesterday. So let's dissect failure, because I've had my share of them. When I look back at the major failures in my life, a pattern shows up. And oddly enough, a lot of them were not necessarily purely of my own doing. In business, when you operate at a high level and build large enterprises, you cannot do every fucking thing yourself. Yes, You build the vision, you raise the capital, you set the strategy, and then you have to rely on other people that you trust and that's in your circle to execute on your behalf for the success. And when they don't deliver, and when performance falls short, the dominoes fall. The structure collapses, and you're left standing in the friggin' middle of the rubble of an operational failure. Oh yes, it hurts, and it can be expensive, and it can be embarrassing, but it still has something that you can study. Failure is not always born in the boardroom either. Sometimes it comes from chaos, adrenaline, and the frantic pace of a broken environment. If you travel enough, you know exactly what I mean. Planes are late, crews are missing, weather's delays, stacks up, connections disappear, and suddenly you're hauling ass to an airport like your life depended on it. On one trip, I was in that exact panic. I finally found out where the gate was and started moving. I got there, and wouldn't you know it, a long line. And in the frenzy of the moment, I had no friggin' idea what was actually happening. And I walked straight to the front of the line like I belonged there. And the gate agent let me through, but she looked at me kind of strange. Then, as I walked outside onto the tarmac, I headed up to the ramp to the plane, and then it hit me. Every friggin' single person that I had just cut in front of was waiting to board that exact same airplane. Oh my God, what a dumbass. What a complete asshole. And of course, I was sitting right up front, and every one of those people had to walk by and give me their look, which I was deserving of. That was a tactical failure. I let the friggin' external rush dictate my behavior, and I made a blind, unenforced error. But there's the lesson in the moment. My mind went analytical. Why the hell did it happen? What were the variables? And how do I own it? For that matter, repair it and not repeat it. I grabbed some sticky notes and gave to each one of the people that passed that I basically cut in front of for a free drink on me for being such a dumbass. Yeah, it cost me about $300 plus, but it turned the moment around. I faced the music, paid the price, and learned the lesson. That is failure. You treat it like a puzzle. Even the decision that looks risky or crazy in the hindsight were usually made with information constraints and emotional realities you had at the time. Like, when I first moved to the United States, I put all my companies in my ex-wife's name because I didn't have a social security number at the time. Do I regret that decision today? No. Would it have been safer had I didn't do it, knowing how things turned out? Of course. But at that exact time and place, when those legal constraints and that reality, I made the only workable move on the damn board. Later, yes, I could have changed the structure. But when you enter into a marriage believing it is truly till death do us part, you operate from trust. Yes, I loved her when I met her, and I also loved her when she left. That was life and event. But it was also a logistical reality born out of a specific time and place. Failure is an external event. You can open the ledger, you can look at the timing, analyze the misplaced trust, examine the structure, and process it logistically. Yes, it may have hurt your pride, it may have hurt your bank account, and which it did, but you can live with it because it belongs to the mechanics of the outside world. So how do we handle the sting of failure without letting it paralyze us? We simply close the operational ledger. Stop treating your past business setbacks, financial losses, broken trusts, or bad calls like an ongoing trial where you're always the defendant. If you trusted someone and they failed to perform on your behalf, or if a legal circumstance forced your hand, accept that you acted on the information, realities, and the emotions available to you at that moment. Analyze the structure flaw. Take the executive lesson, then shut the damn book. Failure is a lagging indicator. It tells you what was, not what is. Do not let operational failure dictate your current self-worth. Separate the logistical breakdown from who you are as a person. Close the books, learn the friggin' lessons, and get ready for the next move. Like Saban, realize that yesterday's friggin' game doesn't mean shit today. Every moment is a new season with new variables. Join me in part 2, where we talk about the real monster, the deep, silent weight of personal regret. Until then, Kissy Watson, be kind and Cree. Thank you for listening in. Have a great day.